I finished Ghost of Yotei a couple weeks ago and just haven't had the time to make this review, but I wanted to elaborate further because I tweeted about it, said easy 9 out of 10 for me for many reasons. I got a lot of good back and forth with people, so I just wanted to make this video for you guys. Obviously, we've already talked about, comparing this to Assassin's Creed Shadows, so we're not doing that in this video, just an overall review. Like, what do I think about this game? And also, how does it compare to Tsushima? Because this is a sequel, and that is obviously the most fair comparison you can make. For me, this comes in a little bit above Tsushima. If I had to give Tsushima a score, it's just like a tiny bit below Yotei. However, I think Yotei pretty much improves on everything that Tsushima did. The open world exploration in Yotei is just elevated. It's such a treat. The way that the map is laid out, the way that you can see all of these landmarks kind of in the background. You could do that in Tsushima, but it's just a better version of that for me. The way the camera will swing out and give you that cinematic view with the black bars, I think that's a really interesting cinematic touch that I just very much vibed with. The way you use the telescope, the spyglass to look around the map and mark places, that in and of itself was an elevation of what we had in Tsushima, which was kind of that only would happen during a story mission. We still have those sections in Yotei, but it's sort of like they spun it into the open world game design. I think that was a very smart decision. The regions of Yotei are more well defined to me than Tsushima. Because you were hunting these specific targets, like narratively, there was a lot of cohesion between what was going on with the people in a certain area. It was all connected to the target that you were following. So it just made it easier to connect with the story because you were always running into like, oh, this is what the Oni is doing. This is what the Kitsune is doing. Which brings us to story. I know a lot of people seem to be defensive over Jin, and I really liked Jin. The fact was, when Tsushima came out, I disagree with a lot of the critical reception. And I feel like a lot of fans did too. Like actual people who played the game loved Jin more than critics did. Critics called him like rigid and just not super interesting. And I think they were looking at it from like a 10,000 feet in the air, view. They weren't like connecting personally with Jin's story. And I think that was more because you can break down the pieces of Tsushima. I'll do it right now. And it does sound a little bit not interesting, Jin's personal journey is about letting go of the samurai traditions he was raised with. Of course, you have, Shimura, he gets taken, so you kind of like, get cutscenes with him every now and then, and Jin is always kind of just trying to find him. And, it's sort of like in that game, you were kind of waiting for Jin to finally let go and be the ghost that he needed to be to defend his homeland and to, break his honor and tradition. And then the Mongols themselves, I think, were not nearly as compelling as villains, because it was sort of like, of course you're going to defend your homeland. You're drawn to this. It matters. You have to do this. This is his calling, right? I think what Yotei does that's better is makes it more personal for Atsu. And it connects through, like I already said, it kind of like sinks its webs into every other part of the game. From the very start, Atsu is like, I am hunting down the Yotei 6 no matter what. And really, if you think about it, it's kind of an inversion of what Tsushima did. It's like Atsu knows what she needs to do, and then she encounters a lot of different things along the journey that make her question. And I should probably say that I am going to spoil Yotei in this video. It is a review and it's been a month, so don't watch this if you don't want to listen about story spoilers. I feel like that's enough of a warning here. But yeah, along the way, there's so many interesting ways that she gets challenged. When she meets the Ainu, that was the one that really connected with me the most, because she meets this peaceful, native tribe of people here who live a, pacifist lifestyle. And she spends it's a great arc. It's only like I'd say it's like an hour and a half long arc where you're in the Neoro wilds. It's on the way up to the Kitsune. And so she, interacts with Huchi, and she learns so much about their way of life. And you can really see the reflection in her eyes. She's really thinking about it. She's like, but no, I need to do this. The same thing happens with Oyuki. When she meets Oyuki, doesn't know who Oyuki really is in the beginning. Oyuki's like, are you sure you want to be doing this? Like, you look exhausted. You look tired. Same thing with Jubei, her long-lost brother. She's like, or he tries to, sway her and say, look, that's not your life anymore. Let's reflect on this. You can choose a different path for yourself. And that gets even more complicated when Kiku comes into the picture. So it's just, there's a lot of threads going on here with her personal journey. And again, I think it's smart to invert that and say, here is the quest, but let's have her question that along the way. Let's give her plenty of reasons to say, maybe I shouldn't go on this. And she does end up sparing somebody, So it's like that does work on her. And it was cool, in my opinion, to see that evolution throughout this story. I think it is realistic to not expect Atsu to change that much as well. I do want to say that because I did have a back and forth with someone who was like, well, Atsu doesn't really change that much. I would disagree. I think she's a lot more reflective. I think at the beginning, she starts as this unmoving, just assassin. She just wants to kill. She wants revenge. She's out for blood. She ends up getting a lot of that blood, right? And it's especially tragic at the very end when she loses, Jubei. I mean, it's horrible. But yeah, clearly, as I'm explaining this, you can tell I connected with Atsu's story. I thought it was awesome, and I think it really was the energy, the fuel for me really doing like almost all of the content in this game on my first playthrough. That's usually not the kind of gamer that I am, but when a story grabs me and engages me, I am way more likely to do all of the foxes and birds and other stuff in an open world video game. Let's talk about this combat. I always thought that Ghost's combat felt really slick and lethal. I like to play these games on hard because I think it's the perfect comfort zone for me for difficulty. Like if I screw up, the game punishes me, and then I feel that, and it doesn't feel too harsh. Except for Takezo, that duel was so stupid, like actually way too hard. But anyways, adding all of the different weapon types in this game definitely gave it variety. I also like the way that they hid those in each of the regions, and you had to go through kind of that, mastery quest line of, okay, you're going to learn how to use the Kusarigama, and that's going to be really good against shields. And, I kept wondering throughout, like, why am I not good against shields? It's because I didn't have that. So combat is, like, mechanically simple, I think. It's very much tic-tac-toe. It's pressing button combos in order to pull off moves. I love the fact that enemies don't take turns against you. So you really do have to take care. It pushes you to use everything in your toolkit, which I think is very important for a game like this. I can just use my katana, but it's going to be really hard. I don't have to use my smoke bombs, but look, if I do, I'm going to be able to get through this fight. So that's kind of the sweet spot for difficulty that I think it meets. And I also feel like it just leans more into that action side of open world RPG combat. I much prefer that to the RPG side, and what I mean by that is enemies are not bullet spongy. Like, they take a couple hits to kill. I just think that's how it should be. In that way, the game honors the lethality of the blade. Your weapons feel sharp. They feel effective. Atsu feels like a killing machine. It gives you a power fantasy. These are things that I love. So I think it really nailed that stuff. I almost never talk about audio, like music and sound effects and stuff. But I think that the soundscape overall in Ghost of Yotei is so good. Like, the way the music swells when you find a mountain shrine and then you make that journey to climb all the way to the top is just incredible. The little activities that you do, like the hot springs, you'll get a nice little calm vibe there while Atsu is reflecting on her journey. That's also another thing that I've always really liked about this series is the hot springs. I think the haikus, it was a smart thing to get rid of those because they in Tsushima, they kind of got repetitive and it's like, what am I really doing? I mean, it kind of made sense for the game. They replaced those with, you could say, the sumie, which the sumie was fun. I really liked those. It was always fun to kind of trace that and then see what the final, outcome would be. But yeah, the little, the sound of the yellow birds, the sounds of the foxes, the sounds of nature as you're riding through and listening to the wind in the trees and using the guiding wind to bring you to your destination. All that stuff is really well made and well done, well crafted. Something else I should have mentioned when I was talking about story is the volume of motion captured cutscenes in this game. Every single important story beat had a motion captured cutscene where you could see emotion on Atsu's face. And it was frequent enough to keep you engaged in that story. The performance by Erika Ishii is so good. Really a lot of subtlety in there. She kind of has that gruff sort of, don't fuck with me attitude throughout the game. But she also has this light side where she's able to laugh. This is a game where, yes, it's a revenge story, but Atsu has, there's shades. She contains multitudes, right? She's able to emote. She's able to experience joy, even though this is kind of a joyless part of her life. I think a lot of that comes through in this game. Oh, the shamisen. I should talk about the shamisen. I really like her connection to the guitar and her mom. It's really fun to go around and find the different shamisen songs and really sit down and experience. Yeah, this game makes you sit down and experience vibes better than a lot of games I've played. This game says half of our activities are vibes. You will experience the vibes. They are not something that you have to create for yourself. I also want to remark on this game's art direction, because I think it is another triumph for an open world game to not go for realism, to give you an imagined version of Japan, which convinces you that you're in Japan, feels like a real place, but it's not reflecting reality. It's not trying to be hyper realistic. I think this art direction is so damn good. I want to see more games that kind of have rounded edges, right? Not everything is sharply brought into focus. The textures are not, insane high depth, whatever you want to call it. This is a painted version. This is more of a painting of Japan, not a reflection of reality. And I think that's so cool. The result is when you climb these shrines, you get to the top, these vistas blow your freaking mind. It is insane how many photos I took of this game. It is just beautiful in a way that not a lot of games are. So I got a really good question on my tweet. So someone said, so without saying anything negative about the game, why only a 9 out of 10? What makes it miss the mark for you? Which is great, because yeah, if I love it so much and I'm speaking so positively about it, why is it not perfect? And it's for me, I definitely take the stance of nothing is perfect, actually. That's kind of my stance. I don't think I've played a perfect game yet in my eyes. Yeah, I wouldn't even give that to Red Dead 2 is what I said to that question. But I think that what holds Ghost of Yotei back for me is that it is still, even though it has things like the guiding wind and really good world design and the telescope and stuff that I really like, the spyglass, the things that I really like about it, underneath it all, it's still doing the same open world formula. It's the same style of video game that I would say Ubisoft popularized 20 years ago now, with Assassin's Creed, 18 years ago. So, the idea that you're going to go to each region, clear off the map, do the things. So it's almost like my complaint is that this game is the genre that it is. It's not that. It's just that it's not a big evolution. It's not innovating enough. It innovates, and I think it does a good job for what we get. But I think for me at this point, I play so many open world games, so it's probably my fault. But the excitement of an open world video game, I don't really feel anymore. I kind of come at it from a different angle now. I look for ways that a game will make an open world smaller. You know what I mean? Or feel more tight, more directed. Of course, the brilliance of the open world is the freedom that you get. But for me, I would like to see some sort of innovative formula that changes the way that we experience an open world game fundamentally to its core. So while I do praise Ghost of Yotei for, taking some very small steps with that, with the reasons I just said before, it makes a very good open world video game. Probably one of my favorites in a long time, but it does not innovate. And so that's kind of why this game is stuck at a 9 out of 10 for me. I played this game for 60 hours, and I think that by the end, I was maybe hoping to shave off 5 to 10 hours. So it's not that the game was too long, it's that it kind of ran out, like the runway ran out, and I was ready, I was ready to close the game, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I think the idea of an endless game has always been a pipe dream, number one, and number two, never feels good in my head. Like, never. I don't want something that takes, forever to beat. I need a definitive conclusion. So I got a definitive conclusion in this game. But I think maybe trim just a tiny bit. That's what my take would be. But yeah, guys, that's why I think, scatterbrained review there of why Ghost of Yotei is an easy 9 out of 10 for me. Easily one of my favorite games of the year. Man, I have not finished Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and that's kind of a shame. Maybe I'll go back to try to play that, because that's another open world game that does things in a very different way that'd be interesting to really dive into. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought about this review and also your thoughts on Ghost of Yotei. I'd love to get some conversations going in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this informal review. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe here on my second channel. I've also finished The Outer Worlds 2, and so that video will be coming more quickly. I've already finished it. That's where I've been the last 2 weeks on this channel. So yeah, guys, appreciate your support. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you on the next one.